What's up? This is Terrell with Seven Kings Trading 101, and this is just going to be a quick video going over our Seven Kings Cloud trading system, just showing you each element in detail, and then going over the rules as far as what we're looking for to actually get into a trade. And so to get started, we're going to start with our pivots first. We have a 13 period pivot and a 5 period pivot. These we use basically for stop losses and to draw our Fibonacci. Just to show the Fibonacci real quick, we'll use this first pivot as an example. We look for our white pivots, and this is where we draw our Fibonacci levels from. And so this is our most recent white pivot. And so we would go from here to our low, and that would be our Fibonacci. And so basically our 38.2, our 50, and our 61.8 is right there. When price gets back to these areas, we would expect something to happen. Basically either a breakthrough or a reversal pattern to take place. And so that's how people use their Fibonacci retracement. We don't use it that way here. We actually do something a little different, but we won't go into that in this video. And so that's how we use it for our Fibonacci's. As far as our stop losses, let's say we were getting into, say we took this signal right here and we wanted to get into this trade. If this was our entry right here, and this was a sell order, then we would look for where we would put our stop loss, and we could either choose the most recent white pivot or the most recent blue pivot. And you can see a blue pivot kind of hiding in there underneath that white one. And so we have a white one and a blue one. If we were just getting this signal, that white one wouldn't have been there because, again, that's a 13 period pivot. And so not enough candles have come to actually give us that white one at that point of that signal. But the blue pivot would be there. So we could use that blue pivot as our stop loss. We would place our stop loss right above the pivot itself. Not the price, but the pivot. And that would be our stop loss right there. And so at Seven Kings Trading 101, we just like to make everything very simple and visually simple if possible. And so that's what the pivots are there for. So just real easy stuff. Nothing hard to understand, nothing complicated. So let's get rid of these real quick. All right, next up is going to be our actual entry signals. These signals are generated by our SK Sniper and our SK Cloud, which stands for Seven King Sniper and Seven King Cloud. That's what generates these signals for us to actually get into trades. And then this cloud here also acts as a possible place for stop loss. If you want to place a really tight stop loss, you would use the actual cloud. If you wanted to place a looser stop loss, you would look to use the blue and white pivots. And so that's how we utilize the cloud. It's, again, everything is simple but very powerful. And when you get the actual system, I always suggest demoing the system for a while before you actually trade your live money. And if you have the time and the patience, back test it for yourself and you'll see just how powerful it is. In this case, if you would have used the cloud for your stop loss, it looks like you would have got stopped out. But in most cases, if you use the cloud for your stop loss, you don't get stopped off much or stopped out much. And so that's what we use the cloud itself for, is for stop losses. The cloud does help generate these signals. And once we get our signals, we're looking to filter the bad signals out. And so how we do that is these black and white dots here that you see. And so white dots here, black dots here. And so as you can see from right here, the black dots indicate that we have bearish momentum or selling momentum, and the white dots indicate that we have bullish momentum or buying momentum. And so the way our system works is when you get a signal, and the signal is always generated by the close of the previous candle. That way we ensure that we don't have any repainting of the signal. And so once you get the signal itself, because it is generated by the close of the previous candle, we want to go to that previous candle, and then we go back 26 candles. And as you can see, in that blue dialog box that the indicator pulled up when I started using it, it says 26 bars right there in the middle. And so this would be the candlestick that we would want to pay attention to right here, this green one. And so is there a black dot there? Yes, there is a black dot there. So we would go ahead and take this signal, place our stop loss here. So our entry would be here, stop loss would be here, and we would be looking for a 1-to-1 trade or to our first target, which if we had our targets up, we would know. But right now we don't have targets up. This is just a lessons video, and so we don't have targets up right now. But basically we would either look for a 1-to-1 trade, or we would look to get to our first target. Once we got to our first target, we would move our stop loss. Let's just get this looking more like it might look on your broker's screen. So we would take our stop loss. It would be here. We would look for a 1-to-1 trade, or once we got to our first target, we would go ahead and move our stop loss down to our entry point, to our break-even point, and then we would go ahead and manage the trade from there. And so that's basically the system in a nutshell. We'll just kind of go over a few charts just to kind of let you see how it works, show you a couple of signals. And so right here, we got a signal here. We come here, go 26 bars back, and see if we have a white dot. We actually didn't have a white dot there from what you can see. We got a white dot the next one, but in hindsight, that's easy. But we didn't have a white dot there. We wouldn't have been able to take this signal. But as you can see, we got another signal right here. And if we look at that candle, it did have a white dot. So we would have been able to get into this trade here. And so let's just kind of, entry would have been roughly somewhere around there. Always go white for your entries. We won't type it up this time. So our entry would have been there. Stop loss would have been here. And looking for a 1-to-1 trade. Or when we got to a target, we would look to move our stop loss up. And so this is about 99, about 100 ticks. So we would be looking for about 100 ticks. So that would be our 1-to-1 trade right there. Our take profit order, if we was to place a take profit order, would have been somewhere around there. So easy, simple stuff. Stop loss there, entry there. If it was a 1-to-1 trade, this is going to be our target right here. If we just want to manage it to try to maximize it, we would have targets up. We would go ahead and move our stop loss based on our targets. And so once again, easy stuff. That's a bullish trade for you. Let's go ahead and pull up a Forex chart, and let's get something cleared out. Well, look, we got some targets over here, so we could actually give you some examples of using your targets. And so let's see, we got a good signal here, looks like. And so let's pull up signal here generated by this candle. Let's actually zoom in a little bit more. And so we got our signal here generated by this candle. So we go 26 bars back. Right there, that would be that bar right there. We have a black dot. That means we're good to take the signal. And so we would go ahead, place stop loss. Well, in this case, we have a big jump up to our stop loss, and we do have a target before we get there, so we can use that target. Excuse me, we can use that target as a stop loss. But just to stay in tune with the video, we'll go ahead and place our stop loss there. And that would be red for danger. Stop loss there. Our entry would have been somewhere around here. Wait for our entry. And we would be looking for a 1-to-1 or a to manage it. And so let's see from here, actually pull up trend line tool. So that's about 71 ticks. So we're looking for about 71 ticks for a 1-to-1 trade. And so that would be roughly around here. And so if we were taking a 1-to-1 trade, that would be our take profit order right there. Take profit right there. And if we wanted to go ahead and manage it, when price got here, we could go ahead and take our stop loss and move it down to this target now. And then when price got to this target, we can now move our stop loss down to this target now. And then right at this point, we reached our 1-to-1 trade. We could go ahead and move our stop loss down to the bottom of this target. That way we've locked in that amount of profit right there. And if price wants to keep going, then we go ahead and keep locking in profit. If it does reverse on us and stop us out, then we've gone ahead and we've got close to our 1-to-1 with a potential to get more. And so anyway, that's our cloud system. As you can see, it works on Forex, it works on futures. We could pull up a stock if you want to. Let's go Apple. And as you can see, same thing applies. And I mean, like, you don't really have to go into too much to see that this would be a very easy, I mean, like, that was a very bearish, looks like a good 2 weeks or so of just bearish momentum. And so we could have taken any of these red arrows. We wouldn't have taken any of those green arrows, which most of them would have got us in a lot of trouble. And so, yeah, it doesn't matter whether it's stocks, futures, or Forex. The system works just as good with any market. And so that's the cloud system in detail. And so again, go over the video as many times as you need to understand, but the rules are pretty simple. Get your signal, look for your black or white dot. If it matches the direction of the signal, then you go ahead and get in the trade, and you manage your trade based on your pivots and your targets, or your 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio. And beyond that, I mean, there's not much more really we could say about it except for it's simple. If you stick to the rules, it's very successful as well. And so we'll go ahead and get out of here. This is Terrell with 7 Kings Trading 101. You have a wonderful day.